This is it, the scene of the party. The fire pit, cigarettes, and empty bottles all looks like they were here a while, judging from all the bottles. The sunken motor carriage provides...
Looks like it. Hey, let's keep moving, detective.
Somehow, it doesn't... The sight of bullet holes stirs something in you, making you forget the lieutenant's surname. The faded marks are too degraded to draw any for they look pretty ancient.
Where? There? Those are old. Yes, the one that happened half a century ago. Those bullets were fired during the Not much. I don't have it.
Hi again, gendarme. Bye-bye, gendarme.
Two neon-lit shapes, a man and a woman having sex. A ray of backward motion explodes from his mouth to the roof outside, A prime, to then widen into a radius of locations in Martinez, B prime, B double prime, and B triple prime. "700 meters away. The likeliest of these B positions, 20% chance. A skilled sniper could have made the shot. 1 kilometer away, a point beyond the docks, on an islet in the bay. The fort is ruined, but the perpetrator may have found a stable spot on the beaches surrounding it, where the concrete crumbles into the sea, as you saw in the coin-operated viewer. The shot would have been two neon lit.
Mr. Dubois, now, what can Everett Clare do for you today? Most certainly, by all means, Harry. Mr. Dubois, great! Absolutely.
Officer. What? Oh.
Did you take the document?
No, of course not. As I said...
She doesn't seem to be lying. She's genuinely spooked by their disappearance.
Yes, I am. Regardless, it was probably just an accident. I was worried I'd be...
The words, washed away, sound distant and strange sudden.
I really don't know, sir. I certainly don't feel like I've won.
She smiles, a bitter little smile. She means it.
Clearly, I haven't. We're having this conversation, aren't we?
The snow falls on her shop.
I'm stuck in Martinez just like all of us. I've been up here for... I don't know how long now. I like to call this my rooftop containment facility. For my sins, for destroying my first... I don't know what to say. None of this is fortuitous for me.
She nods, slowly. There is suddenly a strange glint in her eyes. Not malicious, but dangerous. The light vanishes inside the concrete slit. The structure goes deep under the... Maybe it's just a storm drain for the sewer.
No idea. Could be connected to one of the buildings around here. We might find her down somewhere. There's an old storm drain system beneath Martinez that's most... In conclusion, she could be under... I hope not.
There's no echo. As you approach, the man turns. He appears completely...
Ah, super. It's the officer. I was not expecting... What brings you down to the scenic Martinez coast? My friend, if it's la responsabilité you're after, I have good news for you.
God, of course it does.
The Comité de Responsabilité de Revachol. It acts as a sort of clearinghouse for coalition activities.
Yes, this is just the sort of reasonable...
I would offer to connect you with the committee myself, but alas, I am not actually in.
What? Where is... You knew there was something strange about this one. He's speaking figuratively. He means he's not in Martinez in his official capacity.
Précisément. Officially, I am still in La Delta, preparing for an upcoming conference. That's why it would be extremely irregular, or potentially even inappropriate for me to intercede with the committee concerning a district I'm not... Well, under ordinary circumstances.
In other words, the committee only knows...
But if you have information of a vital interest, they might be willing to entertain an exception. In which case, I would advise you to contact them via Coalition Warship Archer. Officer, you mean to say that you haven't noticed the giant Coalition aerostat?
You can't see anything. But then, it's dark, and your eyes aren't the sharpest.
Interesting. In a sense, that's the very idea. The Coalition doesn't want the people of Revachol to feel that they are under a military occupation. That, you see, in addition to being an airborne artillery platform, Coalition Warship Archer is also the linchpin of the Coalition's surveillance and communications infrastructure and listening. It has the most objective vantage point in the entire city. Not to mention...
The Bristol Moon Conventions are a series of international agreements governing the treatment of military personnel and civilians in theaters of war, as well as occupied...
This is quite the problem. Very tricky. Of course, the Archer has orders to fire on, but in that case, you would require a radio transmitter capable of broadcasting on coalition frequencies. And that kind of technology, I suppose there might be some way to circuit bend your way onto those frequencies, but you'd have to be one of those techno... Unfortunately not. No, I don't have the pleasure.
Sounds like something that programmer we met in the church might be able...
Let me just say that I have complete confidence in the RCM. Well, that's très simple. I was visiting the fishing village just north of here. They have applied for a series of microloans to revive... And then, well, I had some extra time on my hands, so I decided to stroll down here. It's quite peaceful, isn't it? Yes. There's nothing like a stroll along the coast. Huh? Is that what those pockmarks are? I might have guessed.
You feel like there's something you could say here. If only...
Ah bon? I'm all ears, officer. Always my pleasure to be of assistance to the RC.
There's no way the perp is in here, officer. Look how scarred the boards are. All attempts to pry them... Not this time. The opposition is insurmountable. But and dangerous. Dangerous too.
The suspect? God, I hope not. I can't see a way in, though many have tried.
Yes, what is it? What? No.
She has not seen her, sire. 'Tis true.
You're asking me to circuit bend onto coalition radio frequencies. You want to... The main difficulty will be finding an antenna powerful enough to reach...
She's not joking. Even the RCM has to receive special approval from the coalition to access that kind of equipment.
I highly doubt it. That tower is barely able to transmit shortwave signals across the bay.
She has an idea, though. You can...
I don't see any alternative. We're just going to have to build the antenna ourselves. Because it's a completely different class of antenna. It would be like we need metal. A lot of it. The taller the structure, the better. Something that is both prominent and easily accessible. If it's near a power source, even better.
Close your eyes. Unfold your mental map of Martinez. It's morning. You're standing on the plaza before the whirling in rags. Your eye follows the tiles west, beyond the unkempt back. You turn around. The morning sun is blinding. You bring your hand to your...
The dead king and his horse.
It may work, you think, but why do you feel like...
We'll need an adequate power supply and a great quantity of cable. If we connect the cables to some of the stranded lorries...
Whatever ambivalence she had about your project before, she's now fully engaged.
It's completely ridiculous, but I believe we could transform the entire...
A note of awe in her voice. She's shocked and pleased by her own audacity.
Your sense of style isn't my concern. I'm only here to tell you what's feasible. I have plenty of cables and amplifiers on hand. The power supply, I will secure on my own. I cannot answer that for you, but I don't expect it to be that difficult. There's no shortage of radios around. If you have real to spare, you might even be able to buy one. But it doesn't...
And before you ask, no, you can't have the radio for Machinema.
Absolutely not. My reign prefect is my livelihood. If something were to go wrong, it would be a disaster. Certainly. Though it requires a fair amount of technical finesse to remove them. Frankly, it's not worth the bother. Just find a regular radio. That sounds like a perfectly adequate radio.
I highly doubt that. When I crank the volume on my dyno wave, it's like you're in the front row at the National Concert Hall.
There is no need to go out of your way to find a top-shelf radio for this purpose. In the meantime, I will gather the rest of the materials. We will meet back here with...
A common office radio, like any of those found in countless waiting rooms.
There's usually a little switch somewhere. Ah yes, it's the one that's it.
The lock disengages with a nice click. There's nothing obviously remarkable about it. It's about the size of a common... If this transceiver were a person, it would be an accountant at a large logistics firm. Perfectly competent, but unexceptional.
Yes, reliable and unassuming.
Regardless, the transceiver appears to take your words as a compliment. There's nothing obviously remarkable about it. If this transceiver were a
Yes.
Regardless, the transceiver...
You've surprised me more than once during the course of our investigation. But I have to say, it still seems like a remote scenario. It doesn't, frankly. Don't get me wrong. This appears to be a fine transceiver for a general audience. But it's not something a serious radiohead would use. I suppose it will.
With its transceiver gone, the radio has ceased.
Yes, what is it? Ah, very good. It's not the most advanced model, but at least everything appears to be...
No further comment.
I believe that means we're ready to get started. I should warn you, once we begin setting up this antenna, so if there's anything you'd like to get in order before we depart, I suggest you do it now. That's fine. Return to me when you're ready to... Yes, what is it? Very good.
Back across the water there. At least we are getting our...
If you'll please carry that amplifier, officer, and if you'll take that spool of cable, we should be able to move it all in one trip. And now if you'll just
It's done. I believe...
We're ready to try at least. Please put on these headphones. There should be 2 extra sets. I've configured the channels so that only your microphone is set to broadcast, officer. You will need to transmit your connection request while I attempt to locate the warship's public frequency. You will likely encounter some interference, but then it will be exactly like every other moment of every other day. Good. Begin. Go ahead, officer.
You're all alone out there, wondering. The lieutenant looks up at you. He is nervous, for you're looking at him now, with both hands on his headphones. Then he turns to you. He gives...
Try again, officer.
Nein, Liebling. Unseren Jungen nach Redeposten. Einen dieser Dinger. Marianne hat mir erzählt, dass Oscar nicht mehr derselbe ist, seit er auf einem Luftschiff aus Grab zurückgekommen ist. Natürlich halten wir die Psychologie.
You can't make out a word of this gibberish.
Liebling, bitte. Er ist unser einziges Kind.
It's very likely, based on what we've recently learned. Give me a moment while in the meantime, you must... Again?
It's cold now.
Mention what? I didn't say anything.
Someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired.
An uncomfortable silence falls over the connection.
It's been a long winter. Long and cold.
I can assure you it's not my twin brother, though it certainly does sound like me.
Yes, a particularly eerie specimen, but still...
Right. I just wish I could remember what I was...
Natürlich halten ihn die Psychologen für vollkommen normal.
What else is there to do? Keep trying.
But someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired.
Dubois, please acknowledge. Liebling, bitte. Er ist unser einziges Kind. Where's she back? Please identify.
The signals are getting increasingly mixed. Plucking Archer's signal from this will be...
It's not working. The crosstalk is simply too strong. I did not expect simply locating the signal to... We must consider several variables. Local entroponetic conditions. Our transceiver is perfectly capable. So there is... And we're also unlikely to change our local entroponetic conditions. So, the next step, you need to climb up there and look at them for yourself.
But you don't have.
Someone has been maintaining it.
Something about this setup seems dimly familiar. But you'll be damned if you know what you're supposed to do about it. Images of your body smashed against the pavement flood your mind. This is dangerous.
Then you might break your neck. That's true, but I can't leave my station, so it will have to be.
Your gloves give you a solid grip on the metal bar. This feels pleasingly familiar.